Yo, what's up, guys? It's Jesus here with the Vanguard, and today I'm going to be doing a little deck profile on a deck that me and my best friend Marco have been working on. Um, right here, Lieal Amorta. Uh, so during BCS weekend, I made it a kind of like I made it a mission to pick up a DSR copy of Amorta, mainly because of two reasons. One reason was because I already own a DSR of Liael, and so I kind of wanted to have both of the faded ones as DSRs. But another one is because I have a hunch that she's gonna receive like a new form, if not in like Divine Set 8, maybe Set 9, or maybe never. But Lieal Amorta is a deck that I've been super interested in building for a while since it was revealed. But because honestly, as a boss unit, she's more of like a support for Liael, and even then, it's kind of like niche support. It was kind of on the back burner until I was done with BCS and all that. By the way, didn't do that well, so don't even know why I was even worrying. But regardless, this is a deck that we were working on for like around a day. Pretty much kind of just like brainstorming some ideas. I wouldn't really say a day, probably like about like 2 days of worth of like looking at the support that's already out for Liael, some deck profiles and stuff like that. Pretty much what we have here. I mean, the ride line is very standard. It's a ride line that you're gonna run. It's actually a very good ride line. Draw 2 for a Soul Blast and discard a normal unit. Put all your normal units like back into the deck to the bottom. Like, this is really good, mainly because like you're in Keter and you have all that early game, especially with the Keter package with the dogs and all that. So you're killing those dogs, they're going to the drop zone, and then this isn't like Liael where you can call them back. So you can actually put those cards back into the deck, which is really nice. You don't have to worry really about what you're discarding because you can always get it back. And then you have Liael, which is just it's a nice 4-attack deck, which at least it's doing 4 attacks. And then in the during your divine skill, it's a 6-attack deck, or it's a 6-attack turn. Is it the strongest deck out there? No, it's a very, very solid deck, I think, but you're not winning any regionals, especially with the stuff that's already out now that just outpaces it. Like it's like taking a knife to a gunfight, this deck. But it's a very pretty knife, and so I want to show it off. So your ride line, very standard. And then we're just going to go ahead and get to the grade 3s. I only run one grade 3. That's your Liael's. Liael's cool because, on attack, counterblast 1, you bind one of your units and call another unit with the same name from your deck. Not only that, but you can also use her as a perfect guard for faded 1 units, which is insane because it's really cool to have your extra PGs. The fact she's on a Sentinel is really cool too. But this just means that you're running, in reality, 7 PGs in the deck, which really does come in handy in terms of pretty good options for defense. So you're running 3 copies of Lieal Amorta. For grade 2s, because this deck is still pretty incomplete in terms of support, you're gonna run 4 copies of the Gun Cycler. It's just a good card. Great option for guarding. Also great option for discard. You can put them back with the grade 2. So, I mean, you're always going to have these cards live in a way because you're not really using energy. This is the only card in the deck that uses energy. And even then, sometimes you might just save the energy to draw 1 card and just use Counterblast, because the deck doesn't use too many Counterblasts either. Then you have your main grade 2, which is Idaras or Idiras or whatever. Very solid card. Continuous, has 10k. Just if a copy of himself is bound. And then when he's bound, if you have a Liael Vanguard, Soul Blast 1, draw a card, and your Vanguard gets 5k. There's that dreaded 5k. That's why she's here. She understands the pain of just do this and that to get 5k. But he's also very solid because he draws your cards, so I can't really complain. So yeah, we have 4 copies of him, obviously. And then this card is honestly like, we have 3 copies of Sequence Wizard. He's cool because he'll search your Liael copies and just for counterblast. And he's not bad. He's pretty much like a bad version of the Dual Nation. The only difference is that like he calls it. So he's not really too good, but at least he searches out your copies of Idaras, which is nice. His other thing is when he sees a unit get bound, you can soul charge and get 5k. So yeah, there's another 5k, but at least he soul charges, so he kind of replenishes the cost for Idaras. So these two go very well together. Then obviously Keter deck, we have to run 4 copies of the ban lists, like number 1 suspect, which is Sir Gown. Sir Gown is just a good card. I mean, if you're playing a Keter deck that's not like Bastion or Youthberg, run Sir Gown if you can, or wait till he's reprinted and then banned. Then we run 3 copies of Euphoria. She's really good because she's like every faded unit got a card that gets 5k just because you have him as a Vanguard. So she's a 13k booster like Sir Gown. Except, you know, it doesn't matter how many rearguards your opponent has or if you played in order that turn. The good thing about her is when she boosts Soul Blast 1, if she boosted Liael, Soul Blast 1, gain 2k, you choose a card with the same name as a unit on the board from your drop zone, put it on the bottom of the deck, and choose one of your units, and it gets 5k. If you have a heal in your drop zone or a trigger, you can select a trigger that you have called. You had to call one or anything like that and put them back into the deck. You can do that with your copies of Liael. You can do that with units that you want to draw into. So she's really good at cycling and recycling your cards. Very good card. We run 3 copies of Gorgown. Pretty much kind of like a budget Sir Gown, really, but not really. Pretty much what this thing does is that if a unit was placed by the ability of a Vanguard with Divine Skill, not using its Divine Skill, but it has the Divine Skill, you gain the red text, which is at the end of the battle, you retire it, countercharge 1, and gain 5k. Another 5k unit, but you countercharge. Very nice. And you draw a card. So very similar to a Sequence Wizard. So like if you have Idaras, you have this card, you have Sequence Wizard, you're countercharging, soul charging, you're also drawing 2 cards, so it's pretty much like a free turn. Then to round up the grade 1s, we have 1 or 3 copies of a PG. The 4th one, spoiler alert, is the Elementaria. And then 1 copy of Topaz. Now, unlike other Faded 1 units, I'm gonna move it right here, this deck does not have any extra copies of itself. It does not have any way to gain power. And so your Persona Ride is very important. That is why the Gradle is the kind of like, it is an order of choice. You need to have your Persona Ride. And because your Liaels are also PGs, that means that they have dual use. So you might not even be riding into them as often because you're forced to guard with them. So having this Gradius Gradle is nice to have because you can also just have your Persona Ride. Then as far as the rest of the orders go, we do run 4 copies of Pot of Greed. Literally just Pot of Greed, except this does have a cost. So we run 4 copies of this. And then we run 1 Elementaria. For triggers, the trigger lineup, we run the Purple OT. Purple OT is good because you heal, call a unit, give it 10k. Just a good card, very nice card to have. We kind of wanted to build this deck sort of with like more defense in mind, considering Liael is a PG. You're running 7 PGs in the deck. You have ways to put your Liaels back in the deck. You're drawing so much. So we figured, okay, it doesn't hurt to draw even more. So we run 3 draws. We run 4, 8 crit, and then we run obviously 4 heal. So yeah, we're running draws over fronts because we're not really trying to be aggressive. To address the giant banana eating dragon, we do know that Gabuelius is a card that exists that also happens to work with Liael. The only issue is, if you're gonna look at these 2 cards, more often than not, we're gonna go into this card to bind and call over. While we were playtesting, we noticed that this card kind of just hung out in hand and was just used as discard fodder. And so before, our deck was running out of soul. We were having kind of a tough time keeping up with, like, you know, defenses. Our hands were getting pretty small. And so we opted to get rid of this and start playing Sequence Wizard, because Sequence Wizard, it just helped calling your Iteras. We had games where we couldn't even get it. Even though we had all this draw power, we still couldn't draw into it. We were drawing a lot of triggers, which this deck has a problem with. It has a problem drawing a lot of triggers. So you could base it on luck, you can base it on anything, but the reality is, unlike other decks, this deck doesn't filter as well as, like, say, Liael. So Liael is probably like the main deck to kind of compare a Keter deck to, because it just does it so well. Surgan is a great unit to keep, like, cycling, and this deck can cycle it, but not as often as Liael does, and the other units that it runs don't also cycle very well. Now, we could run more copies of the Keter package. I could see myself dropping the order to run maybe Kedwalas, just to add your Iteras and also your Liaels. That's another thing that could be done. Dual Nation units could be ran as well alongside. There's a lot of potential that this deck has, and so pretty much what this video is mainly just like what we're building. But if you've been working with Liael as well, we want to hear your thoughts. Like, go down below, let us know, like, hey, this list is dog shit, or hey, maybe you should run this, or like, give us your input on how you're running Liael if you're playing it. Because I mean, right now this is kind of a little pet deck that we're working on, and we kind of, you know, we want to go ahead and make it a little better. And who knows, I mean, that new support is very promising, and I can't wait to actually get my hands on it. I have a case coming of set 7, which I will probably try to open on the channel. I probably won't live stream it just because I'm not really into live streaming, but you'll definitely see some boxes being opened and posted on the channel. But yeah, I've been yapping for too long, so guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for subbing to the new subs, and share, comment. Honestly, we love seeing the community, so just, you know, thank you guys for watching.